in diameter at the ground, but the ordinary form, as far as I have seen, is well proportioned. The average diameter, when full grown at this elevation, is about 12 or 14 inches, height 40 or 50 feet. The straggling branches bent up at the end, the bark thin and bedraggled with amber-coloured resin. The pistillate flowers form little crimson rosettes, a fourth of an inch in diameter, on the ends of the branchlets, mostly hidden in the leaf tassels. The staminate are about 3/8 of an inch in diameter, sulphur yellow, in snowy clusters, giving a remarkable rich effect. A brave, hardy mountaineer pine, growing cheerfully on rough beds of avalanche boulders and joints of rock pavements, as well as in fertile hollows, standing up to the waist in snow every winter for centuries, facing 1,000 storms, and blooming every year in colours as bright as those worn by the sun-drenched trees of the tropics. A still hardier mountaineer is the Sierra juniper, Juniperus occidentalis, growing mostly on domes and ridges and glacier pavements. A thick-set, sturdy, picturesque Highlander, seemingly content to live for more than a score of centuries on sunshine and snow. A truly wonderful fellow, dogged endurance expressed in every feature, lasting about as long as the granite he stands on. Some are nearly as broad as high. I saw one on the shore of the lake nearly 10 feet in diameter, and many 6 to 8 feet. The bark, cinnamon coloured, flakes off in long ribbon-like strips with a shiny lustre. Surely the most enduring of all tree mountaineers, it never seems to die a natural death, or even to fall after it has been killed. If protected from accidents, it would perhaps be immortal. I saw some that had withstood an avalanche from snowy Mount Hoffman cheerily putting out new branches, as if repeating, like Gyp, "Never say die." Some were simply standing on the pavement where no fissure more than half an inch wide offered a hole for its roots. The common height for these rock dwellers is from 10 to 20 feet. Most of the old ones have broken tops, and are mere stumps, with a few tufted branches forming picturesque brown pillars on bare pavements, with plenty of elbow room and a clear view in every direction. On good moraine soil it reaches a height of from 40 to 60 feet, with dense grey foliage. The rings of the trunks are very thin, 80 to an inch of diameter in some specimens I examined. Those 10 feet in diameter must be very old, thousands of years. Wish I could live, like these junipers, on sunshine and snow, and stand beside them on the shore of Lake Tenaya for 1,000 years. How much I should see, and how delightful it would be! Everything in the mountains would find me and come to me, and everything from the heavens like light. The lake was named for one of the chiefs of the Yosemite tribe. Old Tenaya is said to have been a good Indian to his tribe. When a company of soldiers followed his band into Yosemite to punish them for cattle stealing and other crimes, they fled to this lake by a trail that leads out of the upper end of the valley, early in the spring, while the snow is still deep. But being pursued, they lost heart and surrendered. A fine monument the old man has in this bright lake, and likely to last a long time, though lakes die as well as Indians, being gradually filled with detritus carried in by the feeding streams, and to some extent also by snow avalanches and rain and wind. A considerable portion of the Tenaya basin is already changed into a forested flat and meadow at the upper end, where the main tributary enters from Cathedral Peak. 2 other tributaries come from the Hoffman Range. The outlet flows westward through Tenaya Canyon to join the Merced River in Yosemite. Scarce a handful of loose soil is to be seen on the north shore. All is bare, shining granite, suggesting the Indian name of the lake, Paiwayak, meaning shining rock. The basin seems to have been slowly excavated by the ancient glaciers, a marvellous work requiring countless thousands of years. On the south side an imposing mountain rises from the water's edge to the height of 3,000 feet or more, feathered with hemlock and pine, and huge shining domes on the east, over the tops of which the grinding, wasting, moulding glacier must have swept as the wind does today. July 28. No cloud mountains, only curly cirrus wisps, scarce perceptible, and the want of thunder to strike the noon hour seems strange, as if the Sierra clock had stopped. Have been studying the Magnifica fir, measured one near 240 feet high, the tallest I have yet seen. This species is the most symmetrical of all conifers, but though gigantic in size, it seldom lives more than 400 or 500 years. Most of the trees die from the attacks of a fungus at the age of 2 or 3 centuries. This dry rot fungus perhaps enters the trunk by way of the stumps of limbs broken off by the snow that loads the broad palmate branches. The younger specimens are marvels of symmetry, straight and erect as a plumb line, their branches in regular level whorls of 5 mostly, each branch as exact in its divisions as a fern frond, and thickly covered by the leaves, making a rich plush over all the tree, excepting only the trunk and a small portion of the main limbs. The leaves turn upwards, especially on the branchlets, and are stiff and sharp, pointed on all the upper portions of the tree. They remain on the tree about 8 or 10 years, and as the growth is rapid, it is not rare to find the leaf still in place on the upper part of the axis, where it is 3 or 4 inches in diameter, wide apart of course, and their spiral arrangement beautifully displayed. The leaf scars are conspicuous for 20 years or more, but there is a good deal of variation in different trees as to the thickness and sharpness of the leaves. After the excursion to Mount Hoffman, I have seen a complete cross-section of the Sierra forest, and I find that Abies magnifica is the most symmetrical tree of all the noble coniferous company. The cones are grand affairs, superb in form, size and colour, cylindrical, stand erect on the upper branches like casks, and are from 5 to 8 inches in length by 3 or 4 in diameter. Greenish grey, and covered with fine down which has a silvery lustre in the sunshine, and their brilliance is augmented by beads of transparent balsam, which seems to have been poured over each cone, bringing to mind the old ceremonies of anointing with oil. If possible, the inside of the cone is more beautiful than the outside. The scales, bracts, and seed wings are tinted with the loveliest rosy purple with a bright, lustrous iridescence. The seeds, 3/4 of an inch long, are dark brown. When the cones are ripe, the scales and bracts fall off, setting the seeds free to fly to their predestined places, while the dead spike-like axes are left on the branches for many years to mark the positions of the vanished cones, excepting those cut off when green by the Douglas squirrel. How he gets his teeth under the broad bases of the sessile cones I don't know. Climbing these trees on a sunny day to visit the growing cones and to gaze over the tops of the forest is one of my best enjoyments. End of section 9.